black girl nerves. Better shake your booties for black girl nerves.
Thank you, Jared, for your time. I appreciate it. When I was speaking to Anne earlier, she mentioned that, you know, she worked with her dialect coach and all that, but it wasn't until she really got into the scenes with you that she found the voice of Rebekah. For you, for the voice of Adam, what what was the turning point for you when you felt like you nailed it? Because the accent work, you know, was impeccable, but when do you know that you've nailed the embodiment of a character like this?
Well, thanks for having me. It's a great question, really, really smart question. I think that you know when you have a sense of abandon, a sense of freedom, when you're able to be in a scene and let go, to break a scene, you know, and kind of build back towards something. And then in those moments, you find some truth. And I think that when you're ready to do those things, you're willing to be in that kind of precarious place. That's when you know that you've built a character, you know, and the building of the character is a really you know, essential, informative first kind of phase of the process. And in this case, I had a very rich character to you know, to draw from and build on.
Hmm. The relationship between Rebecca and Adam, I tried to think of their love story is beautiful and pretty pure. And I thought, you know, are they twin flames? Are they yin and yang? How would you categorize this love they had for each other? Because they single-handedly were able to fill a void that each other had that made them rise to to a next level of greatness that they weren't able to achieve individually.
Well, yeah, sometimes when people meet, they become something together that they aren't apart. And I think that certainly was the case here. You know, Adam would credit Rebecca for, you know, for everything. I mean, she really was instrumental in his success and he in hers. And you know, they shared the highest highs and some of the lowest lows, I can imagine. And they're still together. So it's pretty fascinating. They have I think 6 kids now, 5 or 6 kids, and you know, a very loyal couple, and you know, with a strong family, and it's fascinating to see that, and you know, an important part of the show that we created is that love story between the two of them.
Hmm. For Adam, it takes a quite a level of bravery to be an entrepreneur, to strike out on your own and do these other things. The same thing with being an artist like yourself. Do you see it as an act of bravery to make yourself vulnerable when you portray these type of roles? How do you see the act of being an artisan?
It's absolutely terrifying to risk, you know, your heart in front of the world and your soul, and to take your experience and your, you know, your life, and to throw it, you know, all together in hopes to bring something to life to share with audiences. It can be challenging, terrifying, but it's also like a great honor to be able to do that stuff and to tell stories and to share stories and to build characters and put a life on screen. It is a privilege and an honor. Um, but it, you know, and I do think it takes a lot of bravery. Yeah, I remind myself. I say that exact thing to myself when I start a role. When I start a new project, I remind myself to be as bold and as brave as possible, to take great risk no matter what. Life is too short. You know, I don't want to mumble my way through some movie. I'm not interested in just like being a cool guy on screen. I'm interested in diving deep, exploring humanity, bringing together something that's never been seen on screen before, a new life. And I think, you know, that does take some bravery, probably.
Absolutely. Well, I thank you, sir, for your time. I really enjoyed this series. You're wonderful. And thank you again for speaking with me.
See you next time. Thank you so much.
Take care. Thank you, Ms. Hathaway. I adore you and I love you in this. And I'm so happy to talk to you about it.
Oh, thank you so much. That made me feel so wonderful. I appreciate it.
The pleasure is entirely mine. What was so interesting with me with Rebekah and Adam and how you embodied her was trying to categorize how their love was. Twin flames, yin or yang. I just didn't know how to categorize how they completed each other. How would you describe their relationship, the way they loved each other, and why were they able to lift each other up in a way that we don't typically see in couples who get together so quickly?
Yeah, they're each other's biggest fans. And and you remove one of them from the equation, and I don't think any of this, there wouldn't have been anything to make a series about. I think that they unleashed each other's potential, however it turned out, and I think that they're two. I don't know. It's hard to explain because Jared and I just did it. You know, we just kind of trusted the words and let go and found it together. But there's something kind of wild about the way that they loved each other. And for me, as someone who's made a couple love stories, unique, so often the love story is rooted in conflict. And in this case, it's almost like they were so into each other. It was at the expense of conflict. The conflict was always from the outside, but they were always in total partnership with each other.
It was very admirable because there was something that they each saw in each other that the world just absolutely could not see. Rebekah had this very assuredness, but inside she had some insecurities that Adam was able to see and fix for her, and vice versa. He needed someone to hear him and believe in him, and it made them both thrive in ways beyond than they probably expected. What was most intriguing about this story for you and this love affair in general? Because so much of it is about them making billions, but without each other, there would have been no billions.
So one of the things that really appealed to me about the story and their relationship was, well, let me start from the beginning. So I didn't know anything about WeWork. I somehow missed the entire story. And the way I learned about it was by reading the pilot. And so the first place I went after reading the pilot was Google. And so I read the media narrative about Rebekah. And then I realized that I knew some people that knew her, and I asked them, so what is she like? Is everything I'm reading true? And they said, it's really not. She's really sweet. And I said, she's sweet. Oh, that I wasn't expecting that. Interesting. And I went back and I reread the pilot, and I just thought, wow, what if this is a really sweet person who genuinely wanted to make the world a better place and didn't notice the ways that they were coming up short in their intention? And what if they were in a relationship where they so believed in each other that they stopped being able to see each other outside of the context of their own relationship? And then I thought, wow, this is really interesting. And there's something really juicy here. And I totally believe Jared Leto is going to could in this part and could do something really special. And there's something electric about them. There just is. I mean, he's so charismatic. And she's so powerful, and there's something about them, you just can't take your eyes off of them.
You are mesmerizing to me, and especially in just the intentionality with like your cadence and the carriage. What came for? Obviously it starts with the words on the page, but how long did it take you to kind of formulate that cadence and that way you wanted to embody her and portray her? Because listening to you describe her as sweet, usually that type of carriage is not hand in hand with sweetness. It's almost a little intimidating. So I'm fascinated by the way you embodied that.
Well, so Rebekah did an interview with the School of Greatness podcast, and I worked with my dialect coach, Jerome Butler, who, and we kind of analyzed her voice patterns in that interview. And we noticed that when she would give answers that it seemed like she had thought about in advance, there was one way of speaking. And then when she was speaking off the cuff, there was a different way of speaking. And so I kind of found the voice within those two parameters. But I have to be honest, when I heard Jared as Adam and he came in and I observed his work close up and got to hear his pitch, his volume, his lightness, his deftness, the finesse that he had crafted his accent, that was really when I found my voice as the character, because his work was so excellent that it was like a tuning fork. And I just remember hearing, oh, that's not an accent, that's a voice. That's what I need to be doing. And it was this incredible acting lesson for me that happened in real time on his first day of shooting. And I don't know, his Adam walked into the room and suddenly I found my Rebekah and it all just happened.
Well, ma'am, you are marvelous. I adore you and everything you're in, but this in particular was fantastic. Thank you for your time. It is always a pleasure, and have a wonderful premiere.
Thank you very, very much. I appreciate your kindness. Thank you.
Better shake your booties for black girl nerves. Better shake your booties for black girl nerves.